Thank you. I just have to say, first of all, congrats on the App Radar news. And second, I've been at the Google Play conference today, and I have to say your vibes, guys, are off the charts. That's incredible. My talk is called The Art of ASO from Startup to Enterprise Strategies. I'll be talking about how to do ASO for different stages or apps of different sizes. We have 28 slides in about 20 minutes, which means that we need to do like 1.5 slides a minute. Let's rush and see if we can make that. In terms of agenda, I'll start with the intro. We'll go through some terms and definitions, and then we'll just go kind of tier by tier. So ASO for small apps, ASO for mid-sized apps, and then ASO for large and enterprise apps. First, a little bit about me. I now work in Freeletics, and basically I'm in charge of all things App Store. So I manage ASO and Apple Search Ads. I created a website called 41screenshots.com, which is like a mood board for ASO managers and creative teams. I'll be talking about that website a little bit later in the presentation as well. Before that, we worked actually together with Mateusz in Feature. I was a consultant and a strategist there. And before that, I also had a privilege to work at SplitMetrics. So that's a little bit about me. Let's get right into it. So first, in terms of definitions, very roughly, ASO for any app of any size is visibility optimization and conversion optimization. Visibility optimization means how do people find our app? We need to ensure that once they found our app, it's all about conversion optimization. When they found it, how do we make sure that people download that app? In fact, I think this probably describes not just ASO, but like pretty much marketing in general. But I think that's a topic for a different webinar. Within those layers, visibility and conversion optimization, I try to outline pretty much anything that might impact those. So you can see there is a lot of factors, from the obvious ones like keyword optimization and A/B testing your screenshots, to less obvious ones like appearing in similar apps or doing promoted in-app purchases, localization, that kind of stuff. The focus of that presentation would be on how do you actually prioritize those depending on the stage of the life cycle your app is at. For example, if you're a small app, even though promotional content on Google Play is really interesting and is prioritized by Google, as a small app, you don't even have access to that, right? So we need to make sure that we get our priorities right and we do the things that really move the needle for apps of our size. Speaking of sizes, this is my subjective kind of tiering. It's pretty rough, pretty generic, but I think it describes quite well kind of the apps at different stages. So small pre-launch apps are kind of new apps. You're just new on the market or haven't even launched yet. You get about 1,000 to 2,000 downloads per month in a target market. You don't really have brand power. Nobody knows your brand yet. And ASO would be your only or like major channel for user acquisition. I'll be talking about the downloads per month per target market here because ASO is done on a kind of storefront level, right? So if we're talking about testing, for example, it doesn't really matter for us how many downloads we get in total. We need to know how many downloads we get per market. Okay, so that was small pre-launch. Then mid-sized apps. This now might be an established app. You get about 10 to 50,000 downloads per month in a target market. Your search traffic is primarily generic. So most of the downloads are coming from generic keywords, and the large percentage of total downloads is coming from channels outside of the store. So paid UA, for example. Then large and enterprise apps, those I think overlap a little bit, but there is still a split. So for large apps, it'll be over 50K downloads per month in a target market. You have strong brand equity. Your brand is well known. You get a fair percentage of downloads coming from branded keywords. Your marketing team is kind of well established. People cover various functions, and the traffic mix is very well diversified as well. And then we go to enterprise apps. It's like hundreds of thousands of downloads in a target market. It's the Walmarts and the Airbnbs of the world. And the brand at this stage is like a household name, right? It drives the majority of your organic search traffic. So before we move forward, I know there is an opportunity to start a poll. So if we can do that, I just wanted to check with the audience At what kind of app are you working now? So people from the audience, please take a moment, click on a checkbox, and then we'll move forward in a second. So small or pre-launch, then mid-sized, large, or enterprise. Again, this is a rough split, but would be interesting to get your response to that. First, we'll start with ASO for pre-launch and small apps. Here are the things which I think will move the needle the most. So it's active keyword optimization, creative optimization based on best practices. At this stage, there is really no use for kind of scientific, detailed A/B testing. Instead, you'd be much better off with sequential or before and after analysis. Testing 1 to 2 creative concepts a month, focusing on a low number of really key important markets, doing keyword optimization for secondary localizations, especially if US is your target market. This is critical. Then choosing the right category, gaining some extra visibility through in-app events and featurings, like Google Play's new launch featuring. I won't go through all of those in depth, but I think I'll be able to cover some of the most important ones a little bit more. First, active keyword optimization and secondary localizations. At this stage, I think more than ever, keyword optimization can be a driver of growth. I think in the past years, there's been a trend in the ASO kind of community saying that keyword optimization is losing its kind of effectiveness. And I agree with that to a large extent. However, I think for small apps, or as you're just launching, keyword optimization and active keyword optimization is absolutely critical. So you want to do that with about 3 to 4 week intervals. The reason for that is that that's about the time that's needed for algorithm to actually index your product pages properly and get you to like the maximum possible level of ranking you can get. And then I would say you need to focus on low to mid volume keywords, right? At this stage, even if a keyword is like the big juicy keyword, it's like search popularity over 50, over 70, you think, okay, you absolutely need to rank for that, to get at least like a small portion of the market. It doesn't really work like that. What will happen is that your app is too small. It just doesn't have the historic kind of data for the algorithm to rank high. So you'll be ranked at like position number 100 or 90, where essentially nobody scrolls. Instead, your growth opportunity is to be looking for kind of low to mid volume keywords, which are very relevant, for which you can actually get some solid rankings and get some actual downloads. You can also try including competitor keywords in your metadata. This is obviously kind of prohibited by the guideline. However, there are ways to kind of do that still. So for example, you might split the brand name into 2 and put that, or if the brand name is a generic keyword, you might also put that in your keyword field. So consider that. It might be a good thing to do as you're just trying to grow by all means necessary. And finally, secondary localizations, especially for the US market, are key. That's just how you expand your kind of volume of potential keywords you'll be targeting. I think if you're like launching in the Western Europe or like in the US, you might still leverage like Chinese, Vietnamese, Arabic localization to put some keywords in there and just rank for more stuff. So that is number 1. Number 2, creative optimization for small apps. You will not have enough traffic for reliable A/B testing. You just won't, because the app is too small. Instead, what you can do is, first of all, design according to the industry best practices. You don't have historical knowledge yet. You don't have your kind of history of A/B testing. So just steal what everybody else already figured out, your competitors, look at the mood boards, Google around, read the blogs, and just do your best job kind of you can. And then test directly in the store. Do the before and after testing. You don't have much to lose at this stage. There is not much risk involved in that. You don't have many users. So testing directly in the store will provide you with that kind of real data. And I think might be a good tactic here. Otherwise, you'll just be disappointed with like a whole streak of like low confidence, no result A/B tests on Google Play or in PPO. Testing like that, you might be testing like 1 to 2 concepts per month. I suggest to start with the icon because the icon is the most important element. It's visible on every surface of the store. It's kind of a quick win you can snatch. If you just find a good icon, you just leave it and forget it and move on to testing like videos or screenshots. and then swing for big wins. I think similar to what Mateusz said, like you don't really always need to be super scientific and kind of change one element at a time. You'll be absolutely fine just redesigning, changing many things. At this stage, where we care about getting a win. We don't really care about that kind of granularity of testing, if you will. So that's important to consider. Speaking of best practices, yeah, this is my website, 41screenshots.com. It's a mood board with like apps from different categories. Just go there. I suggest you look at apps outside of your category. So if you're like a dating app, look at a weather app. If you're a weather app, look at a game. There is so much kind of learnings what you might find in different categories and bring it to yours, which kind of your competitors, stuff that your competitors might not be doing yet, which you might actually leverage and kind of get a leg up on them. Then in-app events and featuring. So on the App Store, I suggest you to use in-app events as much as you can. They're easy to make. Obviously, if you have capacity to also have some, like in-app challenges or major updates inside the app itself, like the app update comes first, which then you promote through in-app events. It's a great opportunity to gain some extra visibility and re-engagement from your audience. Then also you get a small chance to get featured by Apple if the update is kind of big enough. It's a small chance, but you get a chance. If you have access to your App Store rep, just pitch the major update to them 6 weeks in advance. It might and you might get featured. On Google Play is a small app. You don't have access to the analog of in-app events. So instead, try to use the new launch featuring there. Let's rush a little bit. And now we get to mid-sized apps. So here, I think what's important is keyword optimization support and secondary localizations. Localization, meaning translations for more relevant markets, rating optimization, which will impact your organic search a lot, VAP keyword optimization, I'll talk about that on a slide later, systematic A/B testing with product page optimization, Google Play experiments, extra visibility through in-app events on iOS, and promotional content if you already have access to that on Google Play, and seasonal deals and promotions participation. First, keyword optimization support. I'll quickly skip through that. Basically, all you need to know is like at this stage, probably keyword optimization will have less impact already. So you still need to look at that. You still need to do a few iterations, but you don't need to be that active. Instead, what you can try to do is to do what's called VAP keyword optimization, which is a multi-layered approach to that, which goes beyond just targeting keywords in your metadata. First, you need to put your relevant keywords in your metadata, title, subtitle, descriptions, metadata field. Then you actually start bidding on them in Apple search ads. What's possible is that through Apple search ads, if you're starting to get like a significant amount of ongoing traffic for a certain keyword, conversion rate is good, that will signal to the algorithm that this keyword is relevant for you. So the organic ranking might go up. And then third, targeting keywords and creative assets to kickstart what's called visual keyword recognition. Here's an example of that. If somebody searches for a scientific calculator, but there is kind of no info about the scientific calculator in your metadata pretty much anywhere, conversion rate might be harmed. Instead, if they search for that and it's like in the title, in the screenshot, the propensity to download your app might be higher. So try to do that. Ratings optimization, the last two columns on the chart, you might see that it's one of the apps I worked with. And once they started incentivizing the rating, kind of incentivizing users to leave the rating on the App Store, the volume of ratings increased right away and their organic ranking increased right away. This has nothing to do with conversion rate, I believe. It's just like one of the factors algorithm is looking at. So if you're not really optimizing your rating prompt, which should be positioned ideally sort of this high volume plus high happiness place within your app, this is really key. Try to do that and you should see some improvement in organic search traffic. Systematic A/B testing. At this stage, you might already also start testing with Google Play experiments and PPO on the App Store. So here, my thoughts are start with Google Play and then continue with PPO. Google Play is just a better tool. If you have an Android app, do that. If you can test with PPO, do that as well, but then just kind of use both data points in your decision making. Once again, prioritize tests by potential impact, start with the icon and video, and then continue with testing significant updates to your screenshots. Minor design updates and copy will have low priority, so you might skip that for starters. Try to test as much as possible, but then once you find a big win, just try to stop, because what might happen is if you apply a win, but then test again, the win will be visible only to 50% of users. So you might kind of lose that total conversion rate improvement. So you want to increase the whole baseline for a while and then A/B test again. You will need to get comfortable with applying non-statistically significant tests. I suggest you also kind of learn a little bit more about the concept of practical significance of the test. So even if statistical significance is low, but the change just seems like big enough, the A/B test is important enough, and you have the risk appetite to kind of apply the non-statistically significant result, just try to do that. Risk is kind of capped at this point. If you follow up with a sequential analysis, you'll have at some point enough data to be ready to say, okay, this was an actual win and we're happy to keep it, or you can just revert to the previous version of your metadata or creatives or whatever you've been testing. And then obviously A/B test only in key markets with enough traffic. Where you don't have enough traffic, just extrapolate learnings or do before and after testing there. I would skip the seasonal deals and promotions part. That is essentially aligned with in-app events and trying to get featured. If you have a representative's contact, the App Store representative or Google Play representative, launch your in-app events, try to align with their calendars and sort of pitch those updates again about 6 weeks before the actual event for a chance to get featured. I mean, featuring is always good. It's like such a great boost to your visibility and kind of brand awareness that you should probably explore that if you have an opportunity. And now we're getting to large and enterprise apps. Here is what's important for those. I think it's focusing on the creative, supporting other channels with ASO, deep localization and expansion to new markets is something you can afford now, scientific, reliable A/B testing, leveraging and protecting the brand, alignment with brand guidelines while ensuring growth. ASO becomes more of an analytical function at this point, and also you might still be doing occasional keyword optimization, but not too much. At that stage, if you're an app like Masterclass or any other kind of big name app, the traffic comes from the variety of sources, right? It's not now as an ASO manager, you're not really taking care just of organic search and kind of browse and explore. You really need to make sure that your product page is well aligned with paid user acquisition, with social media, web search, PR, owned media. All of those users have different intent when they come to your product page, and you need to address them. And you need to make sure that your conversion rate is as high for refer traffic sources as it is for search. Sometimes, of course, like for stuff like web search or PR, you just need to be working with your main product page. So you need to make sure that it's like generic enough to kind of appeal to users with different kinds of intent. But if we're talking about paid user acquisition, custom product pages are like absolutely key. So at this point, ASO might be actually a function to improve the ROI on the total marketing spend, not just, again, working with your organic search traffic. So using custom product pages together with Apple search ads is incredible. You might align the intent on the keyword level. Custom product pages with meta ads is incredible as well. For many apps and games, meta is like one of the biggest channels and accounts for the biggest spending. So if you might optimize that spending through better conversion on the App Store side, the whole marketing team will say thank you to you. And then custom store listings, which is the version of custom product pages on Google Play, you might also align that with UAC campaigns and find some improvement there as well. New market expansion, deep localization. Here, I mean not just translation, not just localizing your content, but actually, if you have a capacity for that, you might go deep into sort of culturalization there. You might be localizing your store presence, metadata, and creative not only to your kind of target markets, but also to tier 2, tier 3 markets, where you might be finding some extra kind of growth. That's where you have an opportunity to participate in market-specific events, such as Diwali in India, with new content inside your product, but then also store updates, in-app events, which might be pitched then to reps and like trying to get featured. All of that might become like a systematic process where like every once in a while you get featured and gain that massive boost in re-engagement and visibility. And then one thing you need to be aware of is that expanding to new markets also means expansion of analytics. So it's operationally quite complex. And that's why you only might want to do that if you're a big app. Because it will not only mean like that you need to design new screenshots, but you will also need to be reporting and troubleshooting in those new markets. So that will take quite a lot of resources. Statistically significant gradual testing. Yeah, here I think you absolutely need to be worried about statistical significance. The risk here becomes quite high for big apps. You know, you're now thinking about the brand as well. You're thinking about kind of hundreds of thousands or millions of users. So you need to be running confident. You need to be running experiments with high confidence level on kind of smaller things now, which you can afford as well. And final one, I already know that I'm either over time or close to being over time. You need to be aligned with brand guidelines while ensuring growth. App Store, you know, ASO is not a deal breaker when those companies make brand decisions, but you might be supporting through those decisions through the data we have. Airbnb might be a good example. When they rebranded, I'm pretty sure conversion rate went down, but you know, over time it increased. So like if you have an opportunity to sort of pre-test before the rebrand, or merge some of your previous learnings with that kind of wider marketing team's know-how, that might serve you well. Leverage and protect the brand. You know, brand is your asset, so put that into your product page, increase conversion rate, make sure that people see that. And yeah, ASO becomes an analytic function, actually not just for enterprise apps, but also for small and mid-sized apps. You sit on a wealth of analytics and data which you might be sharing with a wider marketing and product team. If you do that properly, if that process is systematic, I hope that you might achieve some awesome results and yeah, grow your app. So that's been everything.
Great presentation, great insights. And, you know, I'm sure there's a couple of questions in the chat there, but really, really appreciate it. Happy Tourist Day. Thanks for joining us.